suspects are being... One case involves the FBI is now offering $100,000 to see if the police are releasing...
Welcome to Misty Mysteries, a true crime and paranormal podcast. This week, I'm going to be covering an unsolved case from Delphi, Indiana, that has left the families of two young girls searching for justice. Before I begin my story, I would like to tell you about a woman named Jayla Gladden, who survived a kidnapping. On September 4th, 2017, Jayla went to her local Kroger's grocery store in Carrollton, Georgia. She went for tea and medicine since she had not been feeling good. When she was leaving the store, a man named Timothy Wilson stopped her in the parking lot to ask for a lighter. Jayla told him she didn't have a lighter and continued to her car. But something wasn't right. She felt a stabbing feeling near her stomach after getting to her car. Timothy was behind Jayla, holding a knife to her. He had her get into her car, climb over the driver's seat, and into the passenger seat. He drove her car to a church parking lot where he had her remove her clothes, and he would sexually assault her for over an hour. But he wouldn't stop there. He then drove them to a park where he made her get out and sit with his arm around her, as he told her how easy it would be to kill her and bury her in that park. When they went back to the car, he told Jayla he was going to rob a gas station for money. Jayla was able to calm herself down and have a conversation with Timothy, where she found out he had been in prison for a very long time and wanted directions to Atlanta, Georgia. Jayla took this knowledge to her advantage. She knew, since he had been in prison for a very long time, that he would not know technology. She convinced him to let her have her phone to give him directions. Jayla turned the brightness down on her phone and was able to text her boyfriend Tamar her location, and that she had been kidnapped. Tamar went to the police station to get help, where the police were able to track Jayla and Timothy. When a local police officer was able to see them, he parked on the freeway without his lights on. But Timothy saw the police officer and sped to the exit. He crashed into 4 cars. Jayla used this opportunity to run to safety. Timothy ran from the scene, but he was caught and charged for his crimes. Timothy is now serving life in prison because of the strength and quick thinking of Jayla.
Hello and welcome to the Least Haunted Podcast, a place where science, skepticism, humor, and anthropology meet to discuss all things spooky, haunting, supernatural, and sometimes just the plain stupid. Join me, your host, Cody Franks, and your co-host,
Garth Von Onen, that's me. Hi, everybody.
As we journey all around the realms of the paranormal sciences to look with a critical and skeptical eye at various and sundry topics such as
spontaneous human combustion,
talking mongooses,
various frozen hominids,
St. Elmo's fire,
and the Mothman,
and also an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation for some reason,
and a couple scripted radio play holiday specials. So join us every other week for a fun and hopefully entertainingly informative dive into all manner of spooky and strange occurrences, people, places, and things.
Nouns.
The
Least Haunted Podcast.
Because the only thing that's haunted is you.
Liberty Rose Lynn German was born December 27, 2002, to father Derek German and mother Carrie Timmons. She lived with her grandparents and legal guardians Mike and Becky Patty, along with her sisters in Delphi, Indiana. Liberty went by the nickname Libby. She is described as a very happy and outgoing person. She loved to play sports and played in any sport that Delphi could offer her, including swimming, soccer, volleyball, and softball, where she played first base. Along with sports, Libby loved animals, hiking, baking, music, painting, and photography. She was known for her fresh chocolate chip cookies and leaving loving notes for her family. Her grandmother, Becky, talked about her cookies in an interview with WRTV Indianapolis ABC6 News, saying she was our baker. She could throw together a batch of cookies like nobody. She'd come in, have it done in about an hour for everybody to have for the rest of the night. Libby had so many talents with all the sports she played, art she made, and fresh cookies she would bake. She even played in her middle school band, where she played alto saxophone right alongside her best friend, Abigail Joyce Williams. Abigail Joyce Williams, also known by Abby, was born June 23, 2003, to her mother, Anna Williams. Abby lived with her mother and her fluffy little black cat she rescued as a stray in the streets of Delphi, Indiana. Abby was very family-oriented. She was very close to her aunts, uncles, cousins, mom, grandparents, Eric and Diane Erkins, who she called Pawpaw and Meemaw, and her grandfather Cliff. She took many trips with her family to Michigan, where they would do one of her favorite things, riding ATVs on their camping trips. Abby loved being outside, but she was also a very creative girl. She loved reading, drawing, painting, and photography. Photography was a hobby she shared with her mother. Abby was more of a shy person, but when you got to know her, she was extremely loving and loyal to those who she was close with. Abby was known for her smile and for always asking if she could do anything to help. During the same interview with the WRTV Indianapolis ABC 6 News, Anna, Abby's mother, said, "She loved to make things for people. She loved to just be around people." After telling a story about knitting mittens for her whole volleyball team. Abby loved being around people so much that she was going to be joining the Delphi softball team with her best friend, Libby. Libby and Abby, even with different personalities, were inseparable. During an interview on Kendall Ray's YouTube channel, Kelsey German, Libby's sister, had this to say about the girls. Their personalities were so different, but because of that, they were so close. It was amazing to watch them grow as friends together. The girls spent many nights together painting, watching movies, and having sleepovers. The night of February 12th, 2017, was no exception to the sleepovers. And the next morning, on February 13th, 2017, the middle school that Abby and Libby went to, Delphi Middle School, was out for the day. They spent the morning painting and helping Libby's grandmother with her business, but they didn't want to spend the whole day inside. Kelsey, Libby's sister, said they wanted to do something on their day off. They wanted to do something fun to get out of the house. The girls wanted to go take pictures for their Snapchat and Instagram out on a bridge called Monon High Bridge. The Monon High Bridge is the state of Indiana's second longest and third highest old railroad track. It sits about 60 feet over Deer Creek. Currently, the bridge is closed for renovations to make it safer for those hiking the historical Delphi trails, but teenagers still go to the bridge to take pictures and hang out with their friends. Abby and Libby were some of those teenagers to take pictures and walk on the high bridge on February 13th. The girls got dropped off by Kelsey at 1:35 p.m. at the trailhead known as Freedom Bridge. They had till 3:30 p.m. to take pictures and hike the trails before having to meet up with Derek, Libby's father, at a predetermined location. At 2:07, 30 minutes after getting dropped off, Libby Snapchatted a picture of Abby walking on the bridge, but when 3:30 came around, Derek was at the location to pick up the girls, and they were nowhere to be found. Derek gave the girls a little bit of time to get there, thinking they may have been running late, but after calling Libby multiple times, he began to get worried. Derek decided to walk the trail for himself, worried that Libby and Abby may have gotten hurt or lost somewhere. While searching for the girls, he saw one other person on the trail, a 70-year-old man who told Derek he hadn't seen the girls matching Libby and Abby on the trail. By 4:30 p.m., the families and the friends of Libby and Abby had gathered in the area to look for the girls. By 5:30 p.m., when no sign of them were found, the families decided to report them missing to the Carroll County Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department sent out officials to help search for Abby and Libby. Joining them were members of the Delphi Police Department, the Delphi Fire Department, and the Department of Natural Resources. In addition to more people, the sheriff also tried to ping Abby and Libby's phone, but believed their phones were either dead or turned off since they had stopped pinging earlier that day. At the time of the search, the sheriffs didn't issue an Amber Alert and were more worried the girls were hurt or lost or stuck in the elements of the wooded area. Around midnight on February 14th, 2017, the officials called off the search for the night, fearing the search team's safety in the dark and the cold of the night. The search started up again at 10 a.m. that morning. This time it wasn't just friends, family, and some members of the police, fire, and natural resource departments. Delphi, Indiana is a small city with a population of less than 3,000 people. So when word got around that two of the local girls were missing from the community immediately came to help. Friends, family, members of the Delphi community, Delphi firefighters, Delphi police officers, sheriffs from the Carroll County split into different search teams at the High Bridge, along with a professional dive team and search and rescue dogs. Not too long into the search for Libby and Abby, a searcher responsible for searching under the bridge yelled that they had found a shoe that had matched one of the girls' shoes the night they went missing. Shortly after, at 12:15 p.m., the bodies of Abby and Libby were found half a mile from the bridge on the edge of someone's property. At 1:14 p.m. that day, a member from the Delphi Police Department, Carroll County Police Department, and Indiana State Police held a press conference to inform the public that they had found 2 bodies near Deer Creek. The Indiana Public Information Officer Kim Riley, during the press conference, said, "Basically, we're going to keep this short and sweet. We don't have much at this time, but what we do have is 2 bodies found near Deer Creek, about a mile east of town. We are investigating this as a crime scene. We suspect foul play, but we have not made positive identification, so we are not going to release any information at this point in time." But later in the press conference, the Carroll County Sheriff thanked the community and public for helping the families of Abby and Libby, hinting at the bodies possibly being the girls. On February 15, 2017, the Carroll County Sheriff's Department, who took lead on the case, confirmed that on February 14th, the bodies they had found were 14-year-old Liberty Rose Lynn German and 13-year-old Abigail Joyce Williams. Libby and Abby's autopsies were immediately sealed, and their cause of deaths have never been told to the public, but it was confirmed that their deaths are being investigated as a double homicide. On February 16, 2017, the Carroll County Sheriff's Department announced a major development in the investigation of Libby and Abby's death. Libby had saved a picture of a man on her Snapchat that had been walking on the bridge with the girls. Libby had also filmed the man. The girls are into true crime themselves, and it is believed that out of fear, Libby filmed and took pictures of this man. The picture is pixelated as it is zoomed in, but in the picture, the man is wearing blue jeans, black shoes, navy blue jacket, a beige-looking baseball cap, and is walking with his hands in his pocket. Based on the picture, the man was described by the police as being 180 to 220 pounds, around 5'6" to 5'10", with reddish-brown hair between the ages of 18 to 40. He was named as a person of interest on February 16th. The picture Libby took was released along with a sketch of the man. On February 19th, 2017, just a few days later, the bridgeman was officially named as suspect, but had not been identified yet, even with tips from the community and all over the country rolling in. On February 22nd, 2017, the Carroll County Sheriff's Department released a video of the bridgeman Libby took where you could hear the man speaking. I will play that audio for you now. On the audio, the man said, "Down the hill." It is believed that the bridgeman was speaking to Libby and Abby. There are rumors of another video from Libby's phone of Abby and Libby talking about the man following them, but that has not been released. Police have also indicated further evidence on Libby's phone that they believe will help them if the killer is brought to trial. Since 2017, there has not been any major developments in Libby and Abby's case, but there has not been a shortage of tips rolling in for the investigators, but no word on if any of those tips have ever panned out for the investigators. Some people have been arrested and been named persons of interest in Libby and Abby's case, but have later been cleared by the investigators. One of these men is Daniel Nation. He is a registered sex offender who was arrested for threatening strangers with a hatchet on a hiking trail in Monument, Colorado. In January, he was arrested after having threatened strangers and having an arrest warrant. He was transferred to Indiana and held for failure to register as a sex offender, but was cleared as a suspect on Libby and Abby's case in February 2018, a year after the girls' deaths. Another person of interest was Charles Elrich. He was arrested in January 2019 because of his similarities to the sketch release of the Bridgeman. but he was cleared as a suspect. One other man, Thomas Bruce, was looked at as a suspect after killing a woman and sexually assaulting 2 more in November 2018 while wearing very similar clothes to the bridge man. But the investigation team of Libby and Abby's case have never named him a suspect or connected him outside of his clothing being similar during the crimes he did commit. The investigation team has actually come out with a new sketch recently after Thomas Bruce naming the new man in the new sketch their lead suspect, but not dismissing the bridge man as a suspect. They believe Libby and Abby's killer is currently living, working, or regularly visiting the city of Delphi, and suspect that they have either talked to the killer themselves or talked to someone very close to him. For now, Libby and Abby's case remains unsolved, but the girls are never forgotten. Their investigation team works overtime to bring them justice, using their motivational phrase, "Today is the day," when they feel discouraged. The community of Delphi has held multiple vigils for the girls after their deaths in 2017. The members of the community leave orange light bulbs in their porch lights till Libby and Abby get the justice they deserve. Abby's family has left her room the way it is when she was alive, Diane saying, "Her things are still here, we can't erase her from our lives, and we want to treasure her coat hanging on the coat hook and her shoes on the shoe rack. Her bedroom is just the way she left it, because she may have walked out the door, but she is still here with us." Libby's family has left her paintings up on the wall and continue to share everything they can and bring awareness to bring the girls justice. Together with the community, the families are working on building a $1 million sports park and amphitheater in honor of the 2 girls. If you'd like to donate to the park, you can mail a check to the Carroll County Community Foundation. I will have that address and information for you in the episode description. If you have any information that can help bring Abby and Libby justice, you recognize the person in the sketch, you know their voice, or you may have heard something, you can call the tip line at 844-459-5786, the Indianapolis State Police at 800-382-7537, or the Carroll County Sheriff's at 765-564-2413. Have you heard of Anchor? Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. When I started Misty Mysteries, I didn't know where to go, and Anchor helped me get Misty Mysteries started without charging me an arm and a leg. Anchor is really my suggestion for anyone looking to start a podcast. It has tools that allow you to record and edit in-app or on the website. Anchor distributes your podcast on all the listening places such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Good Pods, and all your favorite listening places. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place, and best of all, it's totally free, all on Anchor FM and on the Anchor app. I'd like to thank you for listening to this week's episode of Misty Mysteries. I hope you enjoyed the longer episode, and I hope to bring you more longer episodes. Earlier in this episode, you heard an ad from my friends over at the Least Haunted Podcast. I have to say, the Least Haunted Podcast is one of the easiest podcasts to binge listen. It's a bit different from mine. The 2 hosts, Cody and Garth, use their skeptical side and science to tell you stories about hauntings, creatures, and all sorts of spooky things. Cody and Garth have some of the best conversations and chemistry I have ever heard from podcast hosts. The podcast starts with amazing music, has fun clips in it, and even the ads are entertaining. I will be joining the 2 of them in November for an episode on their podcast. I can't wait to join them, and I really can't wait for all of you to hear that episode. After this episode is over, I encourage you to head over and listen to an episode of the Least Haunted Podcast. If you like Misty Mysteries, please share it with friends, family, and on social media. Speaking of social media, you can find the podcast on places like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, where you can talk to me and share cases with me or anything else. Please leave a good review for the podcast on places like Apple Podcasts and Podchasers, and I'd like to thank those who have left good reviews. I read all of them, and they all make my day. If you'd like to support the podcast and help the podcast further, you can find it on Buy Me a Coffee, where you can do a one-time donation for a shout-out on the podcast. I also am super excited to announce Misty Mystery now has stickers, and any donation of $5 or more will not only come with that shout out, but will also come with a set of Misty Mystery stickers that also includes a magnet, and as it is spooky season, may also include maybe drawings of little ghosts and a handwritten thank you note from me. You can find this podcast on listening places such as Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Google Podcasts, and so many more. And as always, I will see you on Sunday.